Some of you are working through with absolute value equations in Algebra 2. I just wanted to make a couple of reminders to you. Anytime that you're working with an absolute value equation, we know that we're always going to have two equations or two inequalities to work with because we have to cover both the positive and negative side of things. So again, always got to have two equations when we're working on this particular sheet, okay? But the other one that I want to make note of, it's start up at the top, is that you must have your absolute value alone before you split it. And what I mean is, we're going to treat these absolute values almost like they're fractions. Okay, so for instance, before we even look at the other part of number 1, we're going to act as though this says for x equals 36. Okay, my x I'm kind of looking at as a replacement for this absolute value. Well, normally, if you're trying to solve for a variable, you're like, well, duh, Mr. Harty, I'm just going to divide by 4 and I go about my business, okay? I have to do the same thing here. I have to divide that 4 away from my absolute value to isolate it, to get it alone, before I can split it into my two equations. Again, the first one I just keep, the second one I change into a negative. Then I can solve it. If you try to split it right away, you're going to have sign issues on things. So I do want you to be careful on that. Make sure the absolute value is alone. And just one more to make sure we're going okay with this and to review. Number 4, down here to your right, same type of things going on. And I want to look at it the same way. I want to look at this as though it's 9x minus 5 equals 4. Well, what would I normally do to isolate my variable? Because I need to isolate my absolute value. Well, you know, I'd add the 5, okay, so I'd do that. And once I added the 5, I'd divide by 9 and I'd have my x helper. I'd have it isolated. So let's take a look at what I did over here. I added the 5 to both sides. Still working at isolating my absolute value though, because I still have this 9 that I'm multiplying it by. But if I divide both sides by the 9, now it's isolated. Now I can split it into the two equations that I need, and I can go ahead and finish up my problem and get my two answers. Okay, you can do this. I know there's several rules to pay attention to, but you've got to be cautious of them and make sure that you're being careful for the details, because that's what algebra is about, teaching you to be watching for details and to problem solve. Hope this helps out.